Good morning, everyone. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. So, Gen Z, congratulations. You have been handed the economy's equivalent of a half-eaten Hot Pocket and told you have to build a 5-course meal. You scroll through endless existential dread on TikTok between ads for therapy apps, then wake up in the same childhood bedroom, the paint still smelling of 2012 and crushed Mountain Dew cans because rent is priced in unicorn blood. You work 2 jobs, one for health insurance and one for cat food money, yet your checking account wheezes like a vape pen in a hurricane. The grown-ups, kids, they bailed out Wall Street and left you to crowdfund the couch that you are sleeping on. Your social feed pushes grind-hard memes while the grind grinds you. The hamster wheel should be considered an OSHA violation at this point, and your diploma, the $100,000 participation certificate, is a decorative QR code to nowhere. The dollar is buying fewer French fries every quarter, your boss repackages your raise as a pizza party, and politicians perform Reddit arguments in Congress. Everyone says manifest abundance, but the only thing manifesting is a migraine and a monthly subscription for more storage space to hold the migraine. So here's the plot twist that we have, okay? Somewhere outside the carnival of clown coupons sits a digital lifeboat, perfectly scarce, running on math with the emotional range of a granite slab. Bitcoin does not judge you for your side hustle, your GPA, or your dad's credit score. It's just sitting there immune to the printers, waiting for someone who is done playing Monopoly with real life. So I need you to share this with your Gen Z pals because this is your only ticket out of this hellscape. I'm gonna dissect the farce that you live in, torch the participation ribbons, and show you why your only rational move in this rigged arcade is to stack something the carnies cannot counterfeit. Prepare for clarity, kids. Let's go. So look at us Gen Z, okay? 57% of 18 to 24-year-olds are sleeping under the same roof that still has their 8th grade science fair ribbon on the fridge. That is an entire generation in a nationwide group home politely asking mom to turn off the vacuum so they can join a Zoom interview that pays in exposure. You graduated into youth unemployment pushing 11%, which means you need 2 internships just to afford the coffee for the unpaid internship. Your parents call it saving money, but we call it economic Stockholm syndrome. You sneak past family movie night so you can trade crypto on the staircase because rent curves look like SpaceX telemetry. The price of independence in this day and age is a luxury item, and we're all feeling that. Meanwhile, your boomer grandparents and your Gen X parents are the pundits on cable TV, smiling, telling you to skip the lattes and just go learn to code. As if JavaScript will just conjure square footage out of thin air. Wages are crawling, prices are sprinting, and the hamster wheel is whistling like a jet engine. This is not failure by laziness. It is engineered scarcity that converts your ambition into another line on the GDP chart while you stream therapy sessions at 1.5x speed to save time. So I'm gonna tear off the drywall. I'm gonna expose the pipes of this basement economy and show why Bitcoin is the fire escape that is bolted to the concrete. Stick around if you would rather own the exit than wallpaper the cage. All right, kids, time to talk about our feelings, and no, not the Pinterest board kind. 40% of high schoolers reports they feel so hopeless they stop doing basic life stuff. That's not angst, that's a collective nervous breakdown with a Snapchat filter. 2 of 10 scenes seriously contemplate punching their own exit tickets, and nearly 1 in 10 actually try. Depression is not a vibe, it is the house band on repeat in America's skull. So zoom out, because suicide is now the 2nd leading cause of death for ages 10 to 24, beating out car accidents, vaping explosions, and TikTok dance injuries combined. The youth suicide rate has surged more than 50% since the turn of the millennium, so congrats, your generation's greatest growth metric is literally despair. So why the misery? Well, start with the permanent foghorn of bad news. Your phone blasts climate doom, geopolitical doom, economic doom, and then a motivational reel telling you to just grind harder while the algorithm sells you dopamine gummies. Every scroll is an emotional margin call. Then you go to school where you get active shooter drills. At work, you get quiet firing. So therapy is the corporate perk that they give you, but only if you schedule it during your lunch break. So remember to weep very briskly. Meanwhile, the dollar in your pocket devalues faster than your attention span, so every coping mechanism from iced coffee to concert tickets now feels like shoplifting from your own future. The old guard solution, the classic triple M: medicate, meditate, and manifest. Take an SSRI, do yoga, and download Headspace. Fine, just patch the symptoms, but the disease is systemic, a fiat matrix that siphons morale along with your purchasing power. You cannot mindfulness your way out of a monetary black hole. Which brings us to this forbidden thought that Gen Z must grasp. Maybe the antidote to weaponized hopelessness isn't another app, but an opt-out button made of math. 21 million uncensorable units that don't care about anything in your miserable life, like your follower count or your serotonin deficit. Hold that seed phrase, we'll come back to it. For now, just sit with this. The system is cracking your mind the same way it cracks your wallet, and both fractures trace back to the same counterfeit core. Feel that weight in your chest? Good, because it means that you're still alive. And you're about to learn why staying alive might require stacking something that cannot be printed, prescribed, or gamified. Ladies and gentlemen of Generation Z, behold the world's most depressing magic trick: watching your paycheck slowly get sawed in half while the magician, who is Jerome Powell in a sequined vest, smiles transitory and sprinkles $100 billion confetti over Wall Street. In February 2020, the M2 money supply sat at $15 trillion, which is already totally obscene, but then stimulus mania hit, and now we're north of 22 trillion. That's a 40% jump in 5 years for those who want the math. The monetary equivalent of injecting a hippo with Red Bull and telling it to not trample the village. Your wages, meanwhile, crawled up to maybe 1 or 2% a year after inflation on a good day, like a pigeon with a limp chasing a Tesla Roadster. Those record high pay raises that your HR email just brags about, they cover Netflix plus sales tax. Everything else is vaporized by the hidden tax called dilution, the Cantillon effect. New dollars hitting asset prices first, so hedge fund managers get beach homes while you have to share Wi-Fi passwords with your crackhead neighbor to save $20. So let's do a quick sanity test, my dearest little goblins. Picture your bi-weekly direct deposit. You know, that depressing $1,500 that hits your account. By the time it clears, M2, the total money supply, just printed another $3 billion in the background. Your slice of the pie shrank before you even tapped the debit card. It's like filling a bathtub while the drain is wide open, except the faucet is drip feeding and the drain is the Hoover Dam spillway. But the cruelty does not stop at groceries, as I'm sure that you all know. The cost of living clauses trail CPI, and CPI really trails reality. The Bureau of Labor Statistics counts your existential trauma as a hedonic adjustment. Apparently, your iPhone's extra camera lens offsets the fact that you can't afford a starter home. So congratulations, kids, you are a line item on a spreadsheet of illusions. All this is going on while the stock market is levitating on buybacks that are funded by near zero interest rate debt that you will eventually repay via higher rent and $9 lattes. So the corporations are gorging on the printed liquidity, and then they lecture you on resilience during the quarterly town hall, where they also announce a hiring freeze due to replacing you with AI. The hamster wheel right now is so greased with fiat that OSHA should classify it as a slip hazard. So here's the part that breaks the fourth wall entirely. None of this is accidental. Fiat is designed to separate you from your future in very slow, deathly motion. You cannot budget your way out of monetary entropy any more than you can jog off a black hole singularity. The printer beats the treadmill every time. And Bitcoin is the 21 million units middle finger to engineered scarcity. A fixed supply, predictable issuance, zero bailouts, every single sat that you stack is a protest vote against the carnival of counterfeits. Bitcoin is the only asset on Earth with a monetary policy that fits in a tweet and is enforced by physics rather than politics. It's the life raft that doesn't inflate then deflate depending on midterm poll numbers. So I'm gonna map you an escape route because I'm such a nice guy. By the end of this, you'll love the Bitcoin wizard. I'm gonna tell you how to convert your hamster wheel wages into something the printer cannot dilute, and why performing that monetary alchemy may be the only shot Gen Z has at compounding anything other than their anxiety. Buckle up because Fiat Disneyland is closing and the only ride still running is secured by thermodynamic monetary truth. Picture moving out of mommy and daddy's home. You sign a lease on a one-bedroom the size of a walk-in freezer, then you shell out $1,700 a month and the landlord calls it a deal because there's a chipped Starbucks inside the lobby. The median asking rent now guzzles half of your pre-tax pay before you have purchased a single ramen brick. The Bureau of Labor Statistics says your generation takes home about $2,700 after withholdings, so do the math. You will Venmo your landlord, then check your balance and feel the oxygen leave the room. You need to know about something called shadow inflation. It is the horror movie villain that CPI credits never list. It shows up in the shrinking cereal box, the rideshare surge fee, and the service charge hidden beneath the gratuity line. A grocery run looks like a ransom note written in blood. You are paying the same $12 for a Caesar salad, only now it is mostly lettuce stems and a QR code that says upgrade to premium croutons. And holy God, are utilities joining the heist. The power company adds a grid modernization fee while telling you to wash clothes at 2 a.m. to help the planet. Your Wi-Fi bill has a line item that says regulatory recovery, which translates to we lobbied Congress and you are reimbursing the champagne. And on top of that, transportation is not escape, it is a subscription. Gas prices swing harder than TikTok meme cycles. If you ditch the car, public transit hands you a monthly pass that costs more than a used Xbox. The alternative is cycling through a city that prioritizes bike lanes and tweets, but not in asphalt. And then you layer the student loan payments on top. $600 a month vanishes into a federal portal that still looks like it's coded in Netscape. Meanwhile, interest accrues in quiet decadence like an aging aristocrat sipping brandy in the attic. Credit card balances sneak in next because when the fridge you swipe plastic to keep the illusion of adulthood alive. And the result is that you are constantly doing this profoundly existential arithmetic in your head. Income minus rent minus loan minus groceries equals a negative sign that blinks like a low battery icon on your mental health. Traditional advice says budget harder, brew coffee at home, listen to Dave Ramsey, cancel Netflix. That's very cute because cutting lattes is a droplet against a monetary fire hose that sprays 40% extra currency into existence in half of a decade. So here is the uncomfortable physics. When the money supply expands faster than the productivity of everybody, that means that your wages chase prices the way that Wile E. Coyote chases the Roadrunner. He never catches it. He just looks down and realizes there is no ground beneath him, and that is shadow inflation. It steals quietly, records nothing, then gaslights you with a government index that insists everything is fine because flat-screen TVs are cheaper. But if you convert somewhat of a surplus to Bitcoin, even if it is $15 a week, into something with a supply schedule that is carved into digital granite, suddenly the hamster wheel that you're on slows. Scarcity is on your side for once. Every sat that you're stacking is the eviction notice served to the silence thief of shadow inflation. Right now, I feel like I'm a forensic accountant armed with a flamethrower. So all right, Gen Z, here is your monthly cash flow autopsy. And yes, I pulled all these numbers. The Bitcoin wizard does his damn research. You work full-time, you clock in in, then you clock out, maybe you sneak a cry in the stockroom bathroom, whatever it takes to net about $2,700 after the tax goblins. That's your entire oxygen tank for the month, so take a deep breath. Line 1 is rent. $1,713, half your paycheck gone the moment that you unlock the door to your 450 square foot mood dungeon that smells like the previous tenant's crystal meth. Congratulations, you now own the privilege of paying for walls thin enough to hear your neighbor's OnlyFans side hustle. Line 2 of expenses is your student loan payment, the $526. That's the price of believing guidance counselors who said follow your dreams. You majored in employable-ish liberal arts, got an honorary PhD in debt servitude for a lifetime. The federal portal siphons $500,000 each month, yet the interface still looks like Windows XP. Line 3 is transportation, $170, whether it's gas, it's your transit pass, it's your Uber from the bar after you got blackout drunk to escape this hellish reality. That fed the one-eyed Uber driver named Randy who needs this as well. You need to pay the mobility tax in this day and age, kids. There's no escaping it. Your car is basically a subscription to insurance premiums, parking tickets, and quarterly catalytic converter theft anxiety. The line 4 expense is food at $486, which is groceries only, no nitro cold brew, no late night DoorDash panic, just bland calories and an invitation to an early death. The cereal box continues to get smaller, but the price tag has a gym membership. Line 5 is the health insurance premium. This is the discount marketplace plan with a deductible that's larger than your entire savings. One sprained ankle and you're crowdfunding your MRI on TikTok. Line 6 is your phone and internet, $141, because modern survival requires 5G and a VPN to doomscroll global catastrophes in high resolution. And the bill, remember, it's listing things like advanced network charge, which is corporate lingo for we felt like it. So now if you tabulate the carnage, we're right at a total outflow of around $3,149. The income, $2,710. The math says you're short $439. This negative number is the scream that you hear when you open the banking app at 2 a.m. It is the negative number that devours every birthday check from grandma, every Venmo transfer, every faint hope of saving for a security deposit. And this is the fun part. You haven't budgeted hobbies, dating, therapy, clothes, Spotify gifts, or a freak flat tire event. The financial gurus will tell you to cancel Netflix and brew coffee at home. Remember, that's very cute. Canceling Netflix covers about a half gallon of milk these days. Who cares? Fiat economics turned adulthood into a pay-to-play escape room where the door code changes every quarter because the money printer just sneezed. Shadow inflation means that this scoreboard rigs itself in real time. You sprint on the treadmill and the belt just speeds up. Bitcoin, by contrast, is a savings technology that doesn't wake up hungover and decide rent should cost more. Fixed supply, known issuance, no Cantalone backstage pass. When you route even a tiny slice of income into sats, you tilt the treadmill ever so slightly in your favor. The fiat drain keeps widening, but now some of your water flows into a bucket with a sealed bottom. So this negative sign is the ultimate villain. Bitcoin is the plot twist, and yes, we're only halfway through the horror story. Stay tuned for the debt trap, where the monster shows its disgusting, gnarled teeth. Let's talk shackles, because the budget deficit that you just saw on that last slide is just the appetizer, but the real main course is debt, served cold and compounding daily. The average federal student loan tab, $39,075, according to the Education Data Initiative. That is a starter mortgage stapled to your diploma, accruing interest while you microwave instant noodles. Miss a payment and the balance blooms like a toxic algae bloom. You cannot bankrupt it, you cannot negotiate with it. It follows you across state lines like a persistent ex with subpoena powers. Credit cards, well, Gen Z runs a $3,456 balance at roughly a 24% APR. Think about that number. If your checking account paid 24%, you would be on a yacht inside of 3 years. Instead, the bank harvests this yield, then they buy Super Bowl ads, and then they mail you a fridge magnet reminding you to make the minimum payment. Minimum means the lifetime subscription to poverty. If the interest outruns the principal, you can compound jail time. Sprinkle in these buy now, pay later schemes, the neon candy of consumer finance. You split a $100 pair of sneakers into 4 easy payments, then stack another plan for a phone case, maybe another for Taylor Swift tickets. Before long, Klarna owns your paycheck Monday through Thursday, and then Affirm takes Friday, and Sally Mae fights for whatever tip money that you get on Saturday night. And then Sunday is the day that you just lay in bed depressed. When it comes to auto loans, the average term is now 72 months. That's 6 years. You will finish paying off your depreciating Honda Civic about the same time the transmission decides that the marriage is over. That is, if it's not repossessed first. One missed paycheck can trigger the cascading late fee avalanche. Every one of these liabilities compounds silently, faster than wages, faster than CPI, faster than your side hustle reselling hype sneakers at 3 o'clock in the morning to some shady goon across town named Justin. You run on the hamster wheel, the wheel powers the interest meter, and Wall Street skims the electricity. And here is the ultimate deeper problem. It is one that is psychological. It is one that is philosophical. Fiat money, money by decree, the money system that we live in, it incentivizes debt because inflation erodes what you owe, but only if your asset rises faster than the printing press. Gen Z holds no assets. You don't have any assets. You only have liabilities. So you are the raw material that is pushed into the furnace that keeps the can't-alone carousel spinning. The system whispers borrow today because dollars tomorrow will be worth less, but leaves out the clause that says only the wealthy own the tomorrow where that math works. Bitcoin flips the script, kids. The scarce supply means that no central planner can debase what you save. There is no hidden inflation schedule stealing your purchasing power while you sleep. If you hold 100 sats, wake up with 100 sats every 10 minutes, the network memorializes that fact in forever stone. Debt loses its superpower when stacked against an assets that the printer cannot counterfeit. Each sat that you stack and never touch again is compound interest working for you instead of against you, a reversal of the polarity that currently drains your future in real time. So choose, keep spinning that hamster wheel until the sparks fly, or step sideways into a system where compound interest finally has your name on it. The trap is sprung, but the lock is digital and the key is 21 million. And I'm going to show you a quick little video here that I did today on my X account. Follow me on X at AdamBLive if you haven't already. That's where my best content is. But this is the Bitcoin versus S&P 500, the 10-year cumulative return. And as you can see, this little white line here is the S&P 500, and this is the cumulative return of Bitcoin in orange. Now, so this is why you don't listen to Dave Ramsey, that disgusting little clown boy. You can see that Bitcoin demolishes the S&P, okay? It is not an option. You need to buy Bitcoin. That is compound interest working for you instead of against you, kids. It is the only way to shield you from monetary death. Welcome to the house table, kids. The chips are dollars, the dealer is the Federal Reserve, and the rules read, the house always prints. Day one of fiat orientation, money doesn't trickle down. It fire hoses upward through a backroom pipe called the Cantillon effect. New dollars leave the money printer at the Federal Reserve, detour straight into banks, hedge funds, and leveraged speculators, inflate the price of everything that you need, and then arrive in your paycheck already shrunken, like ordering an Uber that shows up as a clown on a tricycle. This is the reality. Picture Congress voting for a $1 trillion relief bill. The Treasury taps the Fed dribbles reserves into primary dealers, and abracadabra, asset prices moon, but you don't own assets. Boomers then watch their index funds levitate. You watch the grocery bill ascend into the stratosphere and wonder why milk is flirting with artisanal coffee pricing. That silent confiscation is called stealth tax. You never approved it, you just pay it. Aisle by aisle, swipe after swipe. And guess what? When inflation spikes, the same folks who printed the party balloons raise interest rates to prop them, blaming excess demand as if 20-year-olds hoarding ramen are tank driving the CPI. Layoffs at your workplace, then follow the asset owner's scoop bargains, and then rinse and repeat. Moral hazard is not a bug of the fiat system. It is literally the business model. And then the next layer of the rig is Social Security, the boomer pacifier that you're forced to fund. Current trustee math says the main trust fund hits insolvency before many of you turn 40 years old. You pay 12.4% of every paycheck into a program projected to haircut benefits by 20+% right when you'll need them the most. That's like buying season tickets to a game scheduled after the stadium will be condemned to hell. Every single incentive screams borrow, leverage, and speculate because remember, the inflation erodes the debt in real terms if you own assets. But if you're Gen Z, you own liabilities, not beach houses. So you're sitting there chasing your returns on your meme stocks, your Pokemon cards like a total degenerate, your altcoins, your XRP, your Ethereum, your Solana, your high-yield savings accounts that lose purchasing power in real time, while the people closest to the monetary spigot get to mortgage Manhattan at sub 3% and arbitrage your despair into their dividend streams. And let's not forget quantitative easing, the polite term for we bought toxic assets with money that we invented. Bailouts are socialism for insiders, rugged individualism for you. Remember 2008? Probably not. You were probably in elementary school watching Nickelodeon while the Treasury quietly nationalized moral hazard. And then in 2020, they did it again, only bigger, and your stimmies maybe bought you a month of rent while the S&P hit new time highs. Speaking personally, I actually did exactly this. I borrowed a lot of debt at the crash of 2020 in February to buy Uber stock because it lost 80% of its value. And I thought, there's no way this company is worth 1/5 of what it is just because of this virus we don't know anything about. I followed that incentive. It happened to work out for me. But the ultimate point is that we shouldn't have to leverage our debt and take those type of risks just to stay afloat. It's ridiculous. We live in a broken system. But fiat is not merely broken, it is calibrated to harvest your ambition and compound it into somebody else's capital gain. The game ends in one of two ways. There's either perpetual dilution that hollows the currency into museum memorabilia, or a controlled demolition that resets the ledger and calls it reform. Neither scenario has a happy ending for a generation priced out of the entire asset pyramid. So ask yourself, kids, do you continue to ante up in a casino where the odds worsen every time the money printer goes burr? Or do you pocket your chips and step into the parallel monetary system where the supply curve is vertical, the rules are transparent, and no one can comp the whales with fresh chips out of thin air? The exit ramp has a name. It is Bitcoin. But for now, imprint this truth into your frontal lobe in fiat. Dilution of your wealth is destiny, and it is by design. Destiny can be hacked only by refusing to play a rigged game. All right, doomed tourists, I have dragged you through the sewer of student loan servitude, shadow inflation, and interest rate waterboarding. You have seen the rigged casino, the hamster wheel, the debt bear trap with your name engraved on the springs. Now I am handing you the only tool in the room that is not inflatable, recallable, or permissioned by a congressman and orthopedic loafers: Bitcoin. Open source, public ledger, global consensus. This means that your paycheck no longer has to live on a bank's private spreadsheet that can freeze, reverse, or bail in without so much as a courtesy emoji. It is immune to inflation. You get to be your own bank. You get to self-custody the ultimate asset. Bitcoin does not care if you are a Gen Z Twitch streamer, a Nigerian merchant, or a dissident grandma living under capital controls. If you sign the transaction, pay the fee, and broadcast the network will etch your intent into planetary memory. Censorship resistance is not a slogan, it is physics. Hash power enforcing rules harder than any Supreme Court ruling. And I showed you the performance in that video. It is the greatest returning asset in the entire universe ever since it came to be. So the decision tree is pretty easy. You either stay trapped into that fiat roller coaster of hell, guaranteed dilution, certain dependency, depression sold by the dose, or pivot into an asset whose very existence is the middle finger to engineered scarcity. You need to vote against the monetary malpractice that is happening to your generation, a permission slip to step off the hamster wheel, a silent scream into the ledger that will not be harvested quietly. Bitcoin is not a lottery ticket. It is an exit ramp. Take it before the traffic backs up to the horizon. Here's your 5-step Bitcoin escape plan. No incense, no vision boards, just action items that slap harder than your student loan statement. Number 1, you need to stack sats early and often because time is the only non-printable asset. Number 2, you need to automate your dollar cost average. You need to turn your apathy into an investment strategy. You set the weekly auto buy that triggers whenever you feel bullish or bearish or just hungover in your bed. Think of it as passive rebellion, each paycheck a slice of fiat defects to the sound money underground without asking permission. The less that you micromanage, the fewer panic-selling crimes you'll commit when the price fakes its own death on a Tuesday. Number 3, you have to self-custody. Own your keys or it isn't yours. If your sats live on an exchange, they are Schrodinger's coins, simultaneously yours and a counterparty liability one tweet away from frozen. Buy a hardware wallet, write the seed phrase on acid-free paper and hide it somewhere even your younger sibling conspiracy vlog can't find. This is the moments that you graduate from customer to sovereign. Then build the node-powered tribe. You can exit together with your friends and then you can thrive together with your friends. Run a node, join a lightning channel, or at least attend a local meetup where the dress code is hoodie over despair. And you need to vote with your capital, not with your damn complaints. Stop begging politicians to fix the game that they're being paid to rig. Every sat that is migrated into self-custody is a non-violence vote against debasement, bailouts, and can't-alone cronyism. You won't reform the casino, ever. You'll starve it, chip by chip, until the lights flicker and the house comps drinks for ghosts. Gen Z did not crash the economy, inflate the currency, or invent avocado toast shaming. But history does not grade on a curve. It simply records whether you opted out or got strip mined. Bitcoin is the last exit before the highway to hyperinflation, the digital arc before the next liquidity flood. Grab a seat, grab an oar, and row because the water's rising and the printer is warming up for an encore. That's the plan. 5 steps, infinite upside, 0 permissions needed. The hamster wheel is that way. The future is this way. Choose wisely, and I will see you on the other side of the block height. My name is Adam Livingston. I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you're a member of Gen Z, share this with your other members of Gen Z so they can wake up to this monetary hellscape that we all inherited. It's time to get out. Bitcoin is the answer, and I will hear no more from the other clowns. Have a terrific day. Don't party too hard. Like the video, hit subscribe, help the algorithm, help me spread the orange gospel. Goodbye. Class dismissed.